Hi everyone, JC speaking. I'm the chair of the Trusted Compute Working Group. I'm very pleased to talk to you today. And today we are pleased to welcome Samrat Kishore, that he is a partner at Golden Next Venture, and he has also deep involvement into the baseline protocol. So we are pleased to have here today with us. And please, Samrat, the scene is yours.
Thank you, Jesse. I congratulate all of you for the great work that you guys are putting in. Thank you so much for organizing sessions like these. For our viewers, thank you so much for making it to the session today. If you're watching it live or you're watching it at a later date, Baseline Protocol is an up-and-coming open source protocol for trusted system synchronization. I'm going to be talking a little about the Baseline Protocol with the help of a presentation that we have. But it's just a basic introduction. Just get started and build your thoughts around it. And I've just put up a QR code right to my profile. For any of you who would like to connect with me and discuss future ideas. So with that, let's get started. This is not going to be a very interactive Q&A session, so please feel free to post things on chat. If at all you want to interrupt me and stop me somewhere and ask a question, please feel free. So what is Baseline Protocol? It's a new protocol being developed for universal verified state synchronization. Now, extremely important. All of these words extremely important. It's universal. It's got a universal appeal. It's system independent, and that's why we're calling it universal verified state synchronization. Now, that is something which forms the basis of trusted compute. We are offering, by means of creating the Baseline Protocol, a multi-party coordination under zero knowledge. Now, these are extremely powerful capabilities for a protocol to carry and for systems of record to carry. The systems of record that we envisage that are going to be benefiting best out of using Baseline protocols are transaction processing systems, systems which sit across multiple organizations, being used by multiple actors and largely non-trusting actors, and data being recorded into in multiple time zones and languages at times. So we are providing a way by way of Baseline Protocol, or by baselining, as the verb has come to be. By baselining, we're providing the systems a way to synchronize their data without actually having to exchange data, and that is made possible by way of using zero knowledge. And a lot of previous webinars I've gone through EA content in the past. Some of the previous webinars have been conducted on the subject of zero knowledge compute. So yeah, feel free to go through the earlier webinars to slightly understand more about zero knowledge, because that's not going to be covered on today's webinar. So what are the consequences of inconsistency? Why is a Baseline Protocol even required? Here is how we try and establish the problem. These systems of record, which sit at various players within supply chains, within disparate parties, but they still need to transact in the digital paradigm. So these systems become out of sync all the time, and that is what costs millions. Now, here's an example of the order management system. What if you were processing an order, and you were a distribution company, you are a product company, you want retailers to sell your product. What if you were to ship to them, and as per your own systems, the shipping date was in 2 weeks, but as per the retailer system, your shipping date was today? What would you do? What would you do to save your relationship and your contract with the retailers? You will spend millions and make good, and that is what causes a lot of pain and bad blood in the business world. So Baseline Protocol, to an extent, not the contractual problems, but to an extent, the technological synchronization problem baseline protocol can solve, or baselining these systems of record can solve. What was happening yesterday? Let's talk about yesteryears. What was happening here? So BPM for single entities, now a big revolution, big outsourcing revolution, or the big SaaS revolution led to what? Business process management for single entities. People were looking at operational excellence. People were looking at cost savings being derived from operationally, increasing efficiency of their existing workers, and saving some money in terms of uh, productivity. What is happening today? Today, we are offering a capability of multi-party workflows. Now, that in itself, as I said earlier, is a very powerful capability. Uh, Although some may argue that present-day systems do offer multi-party workflows, what is it, Samrat? What is the new value that baselining is bringing? The baselining is bringing the new value it is bringing is these multi-party workflows can now be performed in a secure, trusted, and zero knowledge manner. So consider it to be like a Venn diagram between the existing capabilities of the system and some things from the cybersecurity world. So business today depends on global network and of large and small counterparties. Why we've written that? It's a very powerful statement because by using something like baselining and making your systems capable of baselining, you're actually making your company, if you're a large company, large organization, you're making yourselves capable of transacting with smaller parties. Uh, we have done some POCs in the past within the baseline group where we've baselined Excel sheets, where we've baselined Google Sheets. One of the large pilots is being done with Coke One North America. So all of these larger companies can now open their gates to the smaller players, uh, and doing away with the vendor risks of inconsistent data. And on the other side of the world, which is for the smaller companies, something like baselining or using baseline systems can open doors, can open up opportunities for them to work with larger companies. So it's a win-win on both sides. Um, Without having a big cybersecurity bill. That's what I would just like to add. What is the coordination conundrum? So this is the conundrum that I just spoke about. What we need to share versus um, what we shouldn't be sharing, or we share out of lack of option or choice. So that's the conundrum that companies today live in. There are times when we just need to share one particular attribute of a document, and we end up sharing the entire document because the systems were programmed in such a manner. So baselining helps you get past such hurdles in secure transactions, in secured information sharing, and create truly zero knowledge multi-party workflows. Um, the bottom line is we need a way to prove data consistency, correctness, and compliance without revealing the actual data. Now that now these are the core underlying values for baselining. Why do we need? This is a one-line pitch for why do SaaS companies need baselining. It is giving you a way to prove data consistency. It is giving you a way of proving data correctness and also compliances. Now here is an example which I would like to now quote here at this stage. There is there are cybersecurity compliances which are required for to be maintained by all service providers for larger companies. We are currently building a pilot. I mean, my own company is building a pilot program for companies to baseline their cybersecurity posture. Now that in itself is amazing because it's saving millions of dollars for these companies combined. The smaller companies spend upwards of $25,000, $30,000 at least annually just on small, very rudimentary cybersecurity checks, even before they apply for tenders and large contracts. So, what such a system can end up doing for them is giving them a SaaS model way of baselining their cybersecurity posture. So, proving to the other party that what is their cybersecurity posture. Now, So yeah, opening up gates, and that's why I say baselining is more of a business innovation than a technology innovation. It should be more appealing to the CISOs of the companies, the CEOs of the companies, and rather than just the blockchain guys, because so this session is happening for EEA, and there is fair amount of blockchain involved here because I'll come to that, but I would not say that blockchain is the only thing within baselining. So stay with me on that. Um, the traditional solution to business is to rely on B2B web portals. That's the problem that I was just discussing about. 50% of the organizations around the world opt for data exchange as a service. Now, here are the alternative that I was talking about. These are APIs. People talk about sharing data across organizational borders via APIs. But what happens? Centrally controlled portals and marketplaces are opaque, and the flow of information is very, very asymmetrical. It's also anti-competitive in a way at times because you could end up losing your competitive advantage by way of losing your confidential data like pricing, costs, etc. So that is why. So here are the core challenges of cybersecurity. Um, and what does proving attributes of the data bring in? you know while not revealing the actual information, here are the enablers. Here are the new way. These are the new rules of business. These are new ways of working that we can explore. So we can look at total volume purchase, we can look at aggregated spend, we can look at correct pricing, and we can also get insights on the on deep supply chain. So extremely important in the provenance sort of use cases. So what are we really accomplishing out of not revealing all this information? Number one is number one is trust between counterparties. So you're spending lesser amount of money in establishing trust on counterparties because that their risk profile has gone down, because you're not sharing a lot of the information that you may have been earlier sharing. So that sort of, okay, somebody says hi to everybody. um so yeah, that's where we are. Moving on. So what is baseline? Baseline protocol is providing a set of tools and libraries for enterprises, so they can coordinate multiple complex multi-party business processes. Now these are sets of libraries which are open source, which are available to everybody. Very recently, on the 8th of December, we had a major release. So a lot of these libraries may still not be available, but yeah, you can visit baseline-protocol.org, go to the section called Get Involved, and look at our YouTube link and our Slack channel. On YouTube, on our YouTube channel, we did that live show on 8th of December, and there were tons of releases and updates and announcements. I do a I do a dedicated YouTube live show every Saturday for the Indian community for on Baseline. So that's like the official office hours of Baseline protocol for people to come together, discuss ideas about baselining, and also get clarifications from the experts. So the next one shows you the grandeur and scale of the initiative. It was co-founded by E&Y, Consensus, and Microsoft back in March of 2020. And since then, it has garnered a lot of attention, a lot of community participants, and a lot of sponsors as well. So as you can see, there are 11. Now there are 11 plus sponsors. It seems to be not updated, but there are 3 more sponsors, but these are the larger ones. You can see Unipride is there. Splunk is there. There's also SAP doing a lot of work on standard development. There's Accenture involved on mostly initiatives. There are also technical steering committee members. The technical steering committee is actually, the first committee was appointed by within the EEA community project, but the next one was actually elected, and I was fortunate that I got elected as the co-chair of the TSC as well. And that also makes us, transcontinental. We are now truly global. Earlier, it started off with an idea in somewhere in the US, and now you see people from all across the globe are participating into this movement. For example, Unibright is based in Europe, Nethermind, and there are tons of companies which have just signed up from various parts of the world. Even on my shows, the baseline shows that I do every Saturday, speakers show up from Singapore, London, Dubai, various parts of the world, and we are in very advanced talks with having an Australia chapter very very soon. So it's growing very very fast. We are getting a lot of validation and community members. The devs group has grown multifold, so that means that we are, um, that we have now got a set roadmap for releasing baseline libraries. I'll skip over to some potential use cases of baselining. Answer these questions. Is the business process automation between multiple partners and the primary requirement? Here is a basic question to explore. A lot of companies would say that we're using RPA, we're using state-of-the-art systems, and most of which they would end up making capital expenditure on. So, the primary question to ask is, are we really looking for automation between multiple partners? Should some partners not have access to or even awareness of every step of the workflow? Now, extremely important, as I said before, there are times we just need to share a state of a document or a state of a transaction with a particular partner. If we end up sharing the entire document with that person or with that party. Are over 20% of the partners small and mid-sized enterprises or do low volumes? Now, extremely important again, as I said earlier, we for larger organizations, they do not get access to the smaller players. A lot of times they miss out on opportunities to work with local companies. A lot of localization is being promoted by governments across the world. So at times companies tend to miss out by not working with local partners or smaller partners. And then there are tons of other use cases as well. For example, is the reduction of upfront capital expense and attractive benefit. Now that was the benefit I was talking about, that if you end up spending big capex on setting up systems and integrations with your partners, what if you lose that contract? What if you get rid of that partner? What if there was a cybersecurity breach? So all of that becomes technical debt to the company, and then has to be written off or just dragged along. So baseline protocol, the way it is structured is that now companies can start baselining and use something like base ledger. Base ledger protocol was launched very recently. Currently, its testnet is also available. You will actually find all details on our website. So you can actually use something like base ledger to start baselining in a very OpEx sort of model, pay as you go. So those were some use cases. And what is the real work now? So here is where we are. I obviously cannot talk a lot about the US government RFI, so don't really look at that one. But there is scope on North America, as I mentioned earlier. There is ServiceNow, which is baselining its workflows. It's giving out of the box workflows which are baselined. Major platforms are being developed by E&Y. SAP, our very favorite SAP. Microsoft Dynamics and Excel, we've already baselined. So in pilots, this has happened. If you go to our videos, in fact, we can actually post those videos with permission from EEA in description or on comments of this particular video. But we've already done baselining for Excel. So net, there are seven-figure revenues coming in for companies who start baselining, who start understanding the value of baselining, and who incorporate Baselining. So extremely important point here that we're not asking any firm, any software company, or even a user company to throw out any of their investments which they've already done. It's just an add-on. It's just a very simple add-on, and the model currently, which it is capable of, is pay as you go. So look at companies like Provide and Unibride to assist you with that. Okay. Since I said that, yeah, it has got appropriate use of blockchain. Why are we using blockchain at all? Because as I said, this is baselining. Baselining is a very simple way of synchronizing two systems of record by synchronizing by keeping one common frame of reference. So in the present avatar, we're using blockchain as a common frame of reference, and that's the only use of blockchain which I see for baselining while you're baselining. So as I said, it's a CISO's dream come true, where there's no data, there's no possibility of a breach. So a lot of risk profiles can change if baselining is done right. What are our key takeaways from today's session? So there's, on the right hand side, you see there's a baseline quick start which is available. By the looks of it, I can say that this is provided by Provide, which is a very active company within the baseline community. They've done a lot of work on setting the libraries that we potentially use for our pilots. And then there are tons of opportunities right now to offer ZK coordination solutions, because of course, as ZK as a concept, a lot of companies have talked about and people have read in college, but not a lot of solutions are out there in the market which utilize zero knowledge proofs. Uh, Public blockchain is being recommended, but it is not required. We need an always on and tamper resistant state machine to store ZK proofs. Now, here is what is extremely important. As I said, we're using blockchain as a common frame of reference to synchronize two systems. Now, this was a requirement fulfilled by public blockchains, but the standard itself needs an always on and a tamper resistant state machine. Now, a few players can come together and decide on certain other state machine as well. You could also have national level government provided state machines. Who knows? It's all out in the open and up to people to imagine. There are massive savings in the offering and new revenue to be achieved through validated multi-platform synchronization. So new models can be created using the baselining capability. Baseline protocol enables enterprises to coordinate multi-party business processes without increasing the IT security threat surface. Um, in a way, it is reducing the threat surface. Forget about even increasing it. So definitely a big appeal, a big pitch to the CISOs. You should start baselining ASAP. How do members get involved? Here is a QR code again that takes you to our website. Join the website, and there's a beautiful link to get involved. Get involved in whichever way you can. Join our Slack channel. No question goes unanswered within 15-20 minutes. The community is very, very vibrant. We also do these live shows that I spoke about on YouTube. So we do office hours and demos every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesdays, it happens at noon in US Eastern timing, and Saturdays, it happens at 6 o'clock in the evening in India time. And there's all documentation available on our website. Well, that's it from my side. Thank you so much for the people who joined us for today's session, and for people who are watching us in future.
Thank you, Samrat. Yeah, thank you, Samrat, for this presentation. Thank you for framing what this protocol can provide today and can provide in the future. That's also really precious for those who want to go further, to have all the links you have shared in order to reach out to the community. It seems we have a couple of questions, so we would like you to address them. One of the questions is, do we see some example of use cases which use the baseline protocol? I think you talked about that, but maybe can you go about what could we develop in the coming months or years using this protocol?
Yeah. So one thing which I see missing definitely is a solid library of use cases that we've already worked on. There are people who may not really reveal what they're working on, but we did give a grant for people working in the bonds market. So if your question is answered with that, plus Andreas, do you know of any project which is working on post-trade capital market settlements?
Yes, there's an asset-backed securitization use case that is going to be launched very soon. Basically, it's invoice financing, and you're baselining invoices. That's the primary use case there, where you can trust that the invoices are actually real. So one of the big issues in invoice financing is the provenance of the invoices.
Yeah.
So in this case, you actually can ensure that they're real, and you can make statements about the counterparty, about the buyer of the products without revealing who the buyer is, exactly what their financial position is, but you can reveal in zero knowledge things like, oh, they have made, they've been in business with a supplier for 10 years. They have never missed a payment, things like that. They have no they have no outstanding balances, things like that are critical for the evaluation of that invoice, and therefore determines the interest rate. So because of the risk of default. So that's a classic use case. There are other use cases, for example, around billing. Again, reconciliation between quote, order, and invoice. There's one that is being done in the telecom sector. There's actually a standard. The Metro Ethernet Forum has its standard MEF 114, which has baseline as an option. So there's actually an industry standard around that is utilizing baseline, the baseline protocol pattern. You have there are several use cases that are in flux around service quality, around NFTs.
Yeah.
So that is but yes, post-trade settlement is obviously the you can do that too. The challenge is that you have to do it with banks, and banks are notoriously slow, and it will take a few years for them to adopt. They barely have emerged out of the or they actually haven't. They're still accepting checks, paper checks. So it's like there you know exactly where they are.
Yeah, thank you, Samrat and Andreas, for sharing these feedbacks and answers. I myself have a questions. Where do you see this protocol in 2 to 3 years?
Okay, I'll take a sure.
Go ahead.
Sure,
no, go ahead, Samrat. Go ahead.
So I'll take a shot at this. I'll say people will start getting cheaper credit using baselining. So it is going to have real business value when people start seeing the savings out of baselining. Especially because you're saving all the money in establishing trust and trusted data exchange. So one is definitely this is there. Second is on NFTs, which Andreas briefly touched upon. It is going to have a big implication on the way NFT royalties are tracked, and the genuineness of NFTs are tracked, and the way royalties are split. So yeah, these two for sure in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see production use cases out, production deployments out. Andreas, over to you.
Yes, we will see that. There are use cases. So in terms of when we talk about adoption, I think we will cross the $1 billion threshold, if not next year, then in 2023, and we will cross the 10 million user threshold by 2024. Simply because the use cases, because this is going to be for industrial use cases from enterprises, which means they will immediately, extend to their customer base, their entire customer base, probably also to the end consumer directly. There are use cases in gaming, for example, that where this is going to be really interesting. For the tech nerds out there, think of a baseline protocol as basically a layer 2 solution that actually has a standard attached to it.
So what is today the limitation to go further and faster regarding the adoption?
It's with all new technologies that are focused on the enterprise primarily. It's the speed with which enterprises are adopting. If you have a couple of large adopters, and we have now there are more sponsors that are especially in the ERP space. Think of the baseline protocol as something that can basically replace the Ariba network at scale, make it significantly cheaper. So these type of opportunities to generate network effects are going to be there as soon as you have the adoption by a couple of large players. There are known, which we can talk about. One is Kona, which is Coca-Cola North America. There's ServiceNow. So and there are a few others that we can't talk about that are going to launch next year. That will also involve large players or are direct and consumer plays.
Okay, so can I summarize saying that on the technical level, the baseline protocol is mature enough to answer to the standards of industries, but the industries landscape the market have to keep up and to embrace further the protocol. It's more an issue of trying and benchmarking the technology than the maturity of the technology.
Yes, so I think there's a lot of tooling that still needs to be built to make adoption really easy for developers. So that's another big thing. If you can integrate it easily via SDKs into existing applications, then obviously that makes life significantly easier. So that's part of what the baseline community is working on. Compliance with the standard, so test harnesses, test fixtures that people can run themselves. Those are and just simply, it's like simple to understand examples of how to use the tooling, of how to use the concepts. I think that is really important because it is from a technical point of view non-trivial. I mean trivial. So
okay, Samrat, do you want to add something?
No, I think and just to add on to what Andreas pointed out, baseline community also gave out a lot of grants last year, worth 100K to various developers who were adding value to these libraries being built. And yeah, we are looking forward to a fresh new start in this new year, and I hope that we get some generous sponsors to join us and give out grants once more. So yeah, if that happens, there'll be more grants to be given out to people who are developing some great great use case, great libraries to be used for early adopters.
Yeah, so for a couple of those grants, actually the two largest ones were around the integration of DIDs into the baseline stack and reference implementation. So we have now married the baseline protocol with a world of DIDs and verifiable, so decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials that have been defined and standardized in the W3C. So we're marrying standards, right? So that's another big thing that we're integrating existing standards into the baseline protocol standard and the reference implementations. The goal is anybody will be able to take it off the rack and by the end of next year and launch a stack and be part of a network.
Okay, very interesting. So I have a last question for you, Samrat and Andreas. You have talked several times about the community and the involvement of the community and how the community has growth. I would like to know if there is skills that are still missing inside the community, and if you are looking for specific profiles of people to join the community.
Yes, Samrat, go ahead.
Sure. Well, core devs are always welcome to speed up the work. We are very soon going to be organizing design thinking sessions to define a roadmap for 2022 for the product. So once that happens, we will need all hands on the deck to start working on pursuing the roadmap. We will sort of have catalysts like grants, etc., to make sure that the work happens. It's developed. We now also have a fantastic project manager who's sort of putting things in the right order, all ducks in a row. Second, and the second team which I see potential for is the outreach team. It's extremely important to take it to the right places at the right time. We are right now looking for the so I think the innovators joined this in 2020 and 2021. I think now will be the early adopters. In 2022, the early adoption will start. So we definitely need people from all walks of life, and that's what I keep saying on all my baseline shows, that we need people. We need marketeers as well. We need technical salespeople as well who can talk about baselining, who can talk about why this is really important. And plus we also need imagineers. This is the term which I use, who can think about the technological as well as business advantage of using something like baseline. So let's say, how will a CISO who's busy with everything in his life even think about baselining? So that guy needs to be, and we need to be in the right forums for that, and that is what has been happening in the past year. We tried our best to be in some of the biggest events even we were actually the biggest technical event of India as well, and also across the US. People were in person, as well as we were doing webinars like this one to educate more people about baseline. So yeah, we definitely need participation in the baselining and in the outreach and core devs team. Andres, you have some views on that?
Yeah, so besides the outreach team, obviously, as far as core devs are concerned, the community needs QA engineers.
Yeah.
The community needs engineers that have a good understanding of zero knowledge proof technologies, frameworks, and we need also people who are good DevOps people. So it's like those are the ones that we need, because we want to be able to be able to launch these in a Kubernetes cluster, for example, because there's quite a few containers that need to be spun up, and doing them individually is probably not the smartest way. We want this to be a real enterprise stack as an open source, and I think that's a tall order, which we will be able to achieve, but it requires all the relevant skill sets. And what I also want to say, the reason why you should join, because you will get noticed, and people have been hired and have start to make careers out of baselining or launching products. So it's definitely not a waste of people's time.
Yeah, just a matter of time that one of the startups gets funded big time, which is contributing to baseline. Just a matter of time. We're gonna see that this.
Yeah. So thank you, Samrat, for taking your time to present this protocol. Thank you, also, Andreas, to participate to the Q&A. So we had a really great overview of where we are today regarding the baseline protocol, where we want to go in the coming years, and what are the steps to go there. I don't know if there is more question from the audience. I think we have answered the question. So if there is nothing to add, I would like to thank the audience for participating. Thanks, Samrat, for your time and your explanations. Yeah.
Hold on, there's a question. You mentioned about Kubernetes. Is this available as operator and marketplace like Red Hat? The goal is to have that available. Yes, to have an AWS Kubernetes deployment available, Azure, DigitalOcean, etc. So it's like, and again, in order to be able to do that, we need people with the right skill set. I mean, more people in order to be able to do things in parallel. So it's like it's like, especially DevOps is a great example, and QA engineers, where things can be done in parallel. So it's the more hands we have, the better. And yes, we definitely basically want you have a full baseline stack deployment in Helm charts, that you can just simply follow a simple deployment script and off you go. Right. So that's
it possible to share a time frame?
The more people we get, the faster we get there. It's like it's
on the roadmap. Yeah.
It's on the roadmap, and we have people working at it, but it's the, especially the DevOps side will take a little bit of time. But if there are DevOps engineers who who are interested in that, and who would like to make a name for themselves and own a big piece of an open source project, the DevOps area is absolutely wide open. Yes, we will share. Yeah, we will share the slides in the so that the whole talk will be on the EEA YouTube channel, and we will share the we'll share the slides also on the EA website, correct?
Perfect.
So just be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for that EA YouTube channel. There's other great content. Also, if you have missed the previous webinars in our Trusted Compute webinar series from the last couple months, we have go to the EA YouTube channel and check it out. It's good stuff. You can also reach us easily. Samrat, myself, in the Baseline community Slack. Samrat shared the links how to get involved. If you're interested, join the Slack, get involved. We have well over 1,000 people engaged in the community. So come join us, Baseline with us together. Build some fun demos. There's a battleship, the game Battleship, that's currently being built as a demo, which is kind of a fun thing. So you do it.
Absolutely.
In zero knowledge. So it's great people, fun people that are really passionate about this, and it's a very positive and forward-looking collaborative community. There's no strife, as I've seen in others before. So this is what really sets this community apart.
Great. Thanks everyone for your time, and we keep in touch, and we talk later. Thanks, Samrat. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.